Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is my second video. If you watched my last video, and that was my first one and we tried our best, okay? I reviewed it, I watched it a couple times and we stay humble for a great personality. I I really did try my best. So if you watched that video and you liked it, you gave me love on it, thanks so much because we're learning. Welcome back to a chapter with Shelby. This is my booktube channel. As I said in my first video, who knows like where this is going to take me. I might post things outside of book talks and whatever. So we'll just see. But the main point and the main goal of this channel is just to talk about books and to join the booktube community because I love the book community. Since we are halfway through the year, almost more than halfway through the year, I am going to focus today's video on my favorite romances of 2025 so far. These are the books that made me swoon, scream, or stay up way too late reading them. So my taste is a little bit all over the place in general, not just with the romance genre, but with romance. I love cowboy romances like Done and Dusted, which is on my list. I love monster alien romances, which if you watch my first video, there was a ton of that. That's mainly what I read this past June. I love, my dog is shaking the camera. I love historical romances. I don't read a lot of those, but the ones I've read, I've enjoyed a lot. Um, yeah, I'm kind of just up for whatever. I said before, I'm a huge mood reader. So it's just kind of like whatever I'm feeling that month or that week or whatever. This past year and last year was just really rough for me and my husband. And so I think I just found that I was looking for both a book or several books that made me just like lose touch with reality altogether, but also didn't make me like think too hard in the sense of like, I don't want to feel like I'm behind. I don't want to feel like I'm missing something. I just want to be literally swept away and swept off my feet. And these books that I'm going to tell you about today do pretty much just that. None of these books, I mean, I feel like they're pretty popular. I'm sure you've heard of them, but maybe this is just a little boost to get you to read them if they've been on your TBR for a long time, or maybe you haven't heard of them and you're looking for your next read. These books are really in no particular order. So I'm just going to start with the one that I've already mentioned in my first video that I read in June, and that is Getting It On with Gargoyles. And that is a part of the Haven Ever After series by Hazel Mack. The Haven Ever After series, it follows more than just the triplets, but in the beginning we're following the Hector triplets, and we start out with Thea and Shepherd. Shepherd is a gargoyle who lives in the town of Ever, Massachusetts, and Ever is a town full of monsters. The town is glamored to look like a human town, and all the monsters are glamored to look like humans until they decide to reveal themselves, which they usually do because anyone who comes and visits Ever is normally like pretty excited and like doesn't want to leave the town of Ever once they find out that it's full of really friendly and hot monsters. And so they're like really quick to reveal themselves and just like welcome new people into their town. And so Getting It On with Gargoyles, like I said, follows Thea and Shepherd, and it is such a swoony love story, very cute. It's like 250 pages maybe. Very cutesy, very heartfelt. Definitely has some spice, but the whole point of the book is not spice. It has great plot. And the way that Hazel Mack sets up the first book, basically like you can just tell that it's going to unfold into several other books, whether that's new love interest or we're figuring out why there's this danger that is kind of present in this town, and we're learning more about that. We're learning more about the triplets and their not their secret, but just some nuances that they're learning about themselves as they just settle into the monster town life. If you love morally gray men, forced proximity, and grumpy sunshine tropes, you will love Getting It On with Gargoyles. You will also love this book if you love cinnamon roll-esque monster or just male characters in general. This book is also huge on found family, which is another one of my favorite, absolute favorite tropes. And I think that's probably what hooked me to the book in the first place, was just this sense of found family, because the triplets have lost both of their parents. They have one aunt who has no idea what's been going on, that they even are in the town of Ever, that it's full of monsters, etc. They've invited her to town, but I'm not there yet. She hasn't gotten to town. And so there is just this sense of like longing. Oh, that's rain. That scared me. My second favorite, again, no particular order, but the second book on my list of romances that I absolutely loved this year was called Heartless Hunter. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but her first name is Kristen. Kristen C, we'll call her that. But Heartless Hunter is such a good book. It follows, I'm looking at my notes. Um, it follows Rune, who is a witch, and she is hiding in plain sight, where witches are just not welcome in her society. And they are often killed by witch hunters. And she lives by one rule, and that is to trust no one, especially the handsome, dangerous witch hunter, Gideon Sharp, who she once loved and I think once had a crush on her as well. But he has a complicated backstory, and she's a witch. So there you go. Essentially, there's this cat and mouse game with Rune and Gideon. Rune knows that Gideon is a witch hunter. Gideon has a um an inkling that she might be a witch, but he has no idea, and he's trying to get proof. There is a um like kind of an enemy to Gideon called the Crimson Moth, and that is the entity or the person enigma that basically every single time that he catches a witch, the Crimson Moth helps release, like, free that witch from death, basically. And so Gideon believes that Rune might be the Crimson Moth. And so, again, there's this cat and mouse game, and they just slowly start to fall for each other, even though they're basically sworn enemies, but they don't know that they're enemies. Rune is hiding in plain sight in this high society, classy couture type culture, where she's kind of known as like the town gossip, and Gideon thinks she's super shallow and could never fall for someone like Gideon. But all along, they've been falling for each other. And up until the end, when kind of everything comes out, they're kind of sworn to hate each other again. But there's a second book, which I don't remember what that's called. But I will be reading that soon. That will probably be on my TBR sometime this year, because it was a really good book. And there's a little bit of spice, but it's more like fade to black spice. But there is a lot of tension, like good tension, to where you really don't even realize that there's no spice. I don't read books just for the spice. I appreciate it. I appreciate when a book has spice, but I appreciate when it's done really well. And I don't mind when it gets a little crazy, a little messy, that's fine. But I love plot. And so, kind of going back to Haven Ever After and getting it on with Gargoyles, like, there's tons of spice, and it gets hot and heavy. But the plot is so good. And so Heartless Hunter is kind of opposite of that, where it's very plot heavy. And the romance, the courtship is really, really beautiful, and just makes you want more. The third book that was on my favorite romances for this year so far is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. Holy crap. I was thinking about, actually, every now and then, there's specific quotes that come to mind from this book, and I just have to like stop and just like so appreciate the writing and their love story. Done and Dusted follows Clementine Ryder and Luke Brooks. Emmy is basically off limits to him, because Emmy is Luke's best friend's sister. So Emmy's brother and Luke are best friends. So technically, Emmy has been and always will be off limits until she comes back to town from, I think, I don't remember where she was living, but she was a professional, like she was in the PBR type thing. And she came back home after an accident and finds Luke grown up. Um, Chemistry starts flying, spark starts flying. Um, and they just hit it off right away. And they're really kind of shocked that they're really quickly and easily falling for each other. And the progression of their affection for each other is so sweet. And, you know, it's just like that Western feel, like the Western romance feel where they are, it's basically like a courtship, but it's like more than that, you know, because there's this uh part of the story that's like kind of forbidden, and they're sneaking around and they're hiding their feelings from each other, from themselves, from their families, and it's so good. And then of course there's always that part where someone comes back home from being away, of, you know, Luke asking himself, is Emmy even going to stay home? Like, is she even going to come back here full time? And so, you know, what's the point of falling in love with her? What's the point of doing all this stuff when she's just going to leave? And so that was kind of something that hung really heavy over the book as well. And the end was just delicious. And again, the author sets up more love stories for other books to come up. And so I think the next book is about Emmy's brother and then Emmy's best friend. So literally kind of the same story, except everyone's really encouraging that, like really, really shipping that relationship. Literally the tagline on Goodreads is, she's off limits, but he's never been good at following the rules. Like, hello. So my third, or wait, what are we on? Fourth? Whatever. My next favorite romance book of 2025 so far was Caraval. And again, this is kind of like, it has romance. I am just such a sucker for like any hint of a romance plot, any like anything that has to do with two people even just like trying to fall in love, but everything just keeps pulling them apart type thing. I'm just a sucker for it, and I will pick up on it. I will absolutely pick up on it, and like that can be the littlest thing about the book. But it'll be my favorite part. So like with The Six of Crows, that's not a romance book, but can I tell you that like one of my favorite parts in the book is just the little scrap of like hint of a love story that we see in that. That's just who I am. So Caraval is more of, I said this before in my first video, where like Caraval just kind of gives Night Circus vibes. I haven't read the Night Circus, but I do know what it's about. The Goodreads tag says, a legendary competition, a mesmerizing romance, you know, an unbreakable bond between two sisters. And it really is just a magical book. Like it's like a magical carnival on an island with lots of nuances, lots of like just Alice in Wonderland kind of vibes. So what part of the description on Goodreads says, Scarlett has been told that everything that happens during Caraval is only an elaborate performance. Nevertheless, she becomes enamored, enmeshed and enmeshed in a game of love, heartbreak, and magic. And whether Caraval is real or not, Scarlett must find Tella, her sister, before the 5 nights of the game are over, and a dangerous domino effect of consequences will be set off, and her beloved sister will disappear forever. But during this whole escapade of trying to find her sister, she meets Julian along the way, and he has a lot of secrets that honestly the reader doesn't even know about until the end. Like he wasn't like, you know, you're not reading the book thinking like, why is he so mysterious, like why, like whatever, like it's not like that at all. There's just a lot more to him that you get to near the end of the book. And literally, like the synopsis says, everything is an illusion. And I think what, like something that Stephanie Garber does such a good job at is making the reader fall for the tricks and the illusions of and the enchantments of Caraval as well. And so we don't even really get the full story until the main character at the end gets the full story. So if you love whimsical magic, high stakes games, mysterious boys, and sister bonds, Caraval is definitely a book that you should read. It's an immersive, nothing is real, but everything feels real type of story where you never quite know what's part of the game and what is dangerously real. And that is one reason why it made it into my favorite romances of the year, also one of my favorite books of the year. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars, as it deserves. The next book on my favorite romances of this year was From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. Again, another book where romance is not the main point or the main goal, but it is there. It is hot, it is present, and is good, is real good. It is more of a high fantasy book, and I said it before that I had to listen to this book on audio because I just felt like I would have just gotten lost reading it for myself because of all the world building and remembering character names and things like that. And so I just listened to it on audio. I'm on the third book, but the first book will always be, it's always better. The first book's always the best. Essentially, the synopsis is that Poppy has been chosen since birth to be the maiden, a symbol of purity, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to. Her life has never been her own. But Poppy secretly craves more than a life locked away. She wants freedom, adventure, and the right to choose her own path. Enter Hawk, a golden-eyed guard with a wicked smile and a deadly skill with weapons. As their connection deepens, so does the danger. Poppy soon discovers that the world and Hawk aren't what they seem to be. Ancient forces are stirring, lies are unraveling, and the line between duty and desire starts to blur. And so this is kind of another forbidden romance. And I think that's like the thing that I'm drawn to apparently is forbidden romance, especially like alien monsters, like that type of thing. That's, I'm learning about myself. So if you love badass heroines with knives and forbidden guard romance, morally gray men who say, tell me to stop, and I will, From Blood and Ash will definitely be your favorite book, and it will absolutely ruin your life in the best way possible. And finally, we have Lights Out by Navessa Allen. If the other book recommendations were not good enough for you, not enough romance or love, whatever spice for you, this is absolutely the one you've been waiting for. Lights Out, you know, I listened to the audio and I can't tell if that was a really good thing or, you know, I mean, it was a really good thing. It was good. I enjoyed it a lot. So the Goodreads tag says Lights Out is a fast-paced dark romance with a morally gray male lead. Some themes and scenes may be disturbing to readers. Please check the trigger warnings before beginning. And I would say the trigger warnings are mostly stalking, a little bit of violence because it is a more of a dark romance. I don't usually read a lot of books with trigger warnings, so I didn't find it too crazy. um, I really enjoyed it. I love the characters, absolutely adore them. I really wish I had the book because I can't really find a good description about it. And the Goodreads description is from the main character's point of view, and I honestly cannot remember her name. I know that the MMC is Josh, but I can't remember the FMC. Um, Not that she's not memorable because I loved her so much, but I'll just read you the synopsis on here, a little bit of it. It says, lately my feed has been dominated by masked men. I favorited videos with them all dressed in full cosplay, decked out in futuristic military apparel and wrapped like ghouls. But more than anything, my FYP is filled with shirtless men wearing ghost masks. Bonus points if they actually have tattooed, if they're heavily tattooed, wielding a knife and covered in fake blood. I can never have guessed that by sending one drunken text, those dreams would become my new reality. And then, like I said, dark romance. But Josh is like super, he's quirky, he's absolutely unhinged for his woman. But he's also a big cinnamon roll teddy bear golden retriever at the same time. And I think that's where like the two, like it just works really, really well where like she wants danger and he wants to give it to her, but he's also on his knees begging for her at the same time. Like it's just so good. I was incredibly hooked. I remember like listening to the audiobook in my car and kind of like turning it down a little bit on some parts because it does get a little spicy and dicey. But if you love dangerous men who are absolutely unhinged for their women, if you love dark romance wrapped in a little bit of thriller, you will love Lights Out. So if you've read any of these books, I would love to know. And if you haven't, let me know what your favorite romance books of this year have been. Again, so far, who knows what we'll be reading in the next half of the year. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my bookish chaos. And I'm going to eventually, I mean, not eventually, soon, make a video about like my top 5-ish. 5 seems like a really low number. I don't know if I could like keep it only to 5, but I'm going to do just like an overall, like all my favorite romances. That maybe I'll do like different parts, or maybe I'll do like by genre. I don't really know because I've read a lot of romances. Um Again, not just like sweet, lovey, heartfelt books, but like just, you know what I'm talking about, across all tropes. So yeah, I'll have to think about that, but I do want to make a video of just like cumulatively my favorite romances in general. If you are new to BookTube like me, I would love to connect with you and just start building more of our community. I've subscribed and commented on a lot of new BookTuber videos recently, and I just hope to build my community and just start to connect with other book lovers. So yeah, it's exciting. And again, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for your support, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.